Okay, there's some seats down the front if you're standing at the back. We got a couple of seats there and there. If you're at the back and you want to come forward and grab a seat, I know how hard it is to stand up all day. You're most welcome. Okay, and we'll begin. Okay, so welcome to Theatre, where am I today? 4. Welcome to Theatre 4, and we're going to have a passwordless session. So this device here, I'll show it on the camera in a moment, this is a Fetian biometric-based FIDO2 device, okay? And I've got my computer set up, and we'll finish the session with how to do that. And it says, turn on your Bluetooth security key or insert into the USB port. So this one's Bluetooth, so I'll turn it on. And for those who can see it, it's now flashing blue, okay? I have to hold it near this because you've all got your Bluetooth devices on as well, okay? In my hotel room, it works like across the room. Take action. So I'm just going to put my thumb on the fingerprint reader, and I'm signed in, okay? No username or password, okay? We'll come back to that as well. So username less than passwordless, but that doesn't sound as good as just passwordless, okay? So let's have a look at how we set that up so we can come back at the end to how we have all that working, okay? I said I'd start a camera. I have this covering my camera just in case Windows Hello decides to log me in as a different user. But that was the device I was using. So that's about the size of it, okay? So in my case, just a little bit bigger than a bit smaller than a finger. Bluetooth Fetian device, and it's got a fingerprint reader on it, okay? For the next one, I'm going to use my black NFC-based USB YubiKey device. Okay, this is not biometric. That's just a capacitive sensor. And so I'll need a PIN number to make this one work. Okay, so let's have a look at setting this up. So what have I got set up in this tenant? Okay, so it's Azure AD based. So I've got an Azure AD subscription running. Okay. It's in preview, so there's no license. We don't know what the licensing will be for this when it goes out of preview. Okay. But a couple of things I've set up in advance of the demo. I've created 2 user accounts. One's called Passwordless FIDO2 Pilot, and one's called Passwordless MS Auth Pilot. Let's have a look at one of them. I've put some people into this group. Okay. And so into this group, I've got a user called Alex, and Alex is a member of this pilot group. Okay. For this demo, I'm going to pilot the program, okay? And so we're going to log on as Alex to see how this works. Okay. Also, in terms of preparation for the setup, I've made sure in this tenant, and actually this is the default, but I don't have self-service password reset turned on. The reason why I don't is because I'm going to use the new combined MFA registration wizard, and it's combined with passwordless reset. So if I had this enabled, I would have an MFA registration and a password reset registration. And that just slows down my demo. Okay? So I've got it turned off. But when I go to my customers and talk to them about this deployment, I would always recommend this is turned on, because when I register for MFA, it's easy to then to register for password reset at the same time. But I've got it intentionally turned off, just for reasons of time. Okay. So how do I set all this up? Well, in the Azure portal, and as of last week, there's a section called security. Okay? It used to be on the main page. It's now under a section called security. And I've got a section called authentication methods. And that's where I'll go to set all this up. But just before I do, I want to show you the sort of legacy MFA methods. That opens up another tab for me. Actually, sorry, it doesn't open up another tab for me. Additional cloud-based MFA opens up another tab for me. And it's under the additional cloud-based settings that I need to make sure I've got some things turned on. Oh, that's very large. That must have been the last time I was doing this demo. Oh, that's too small. Right, so the thing I'm particularly interested in here, let's use zoom it because that's a little bit easier. The verification options. Okay? And so in this tenant, okay, this is a demo tenant. There's no paid licenses in this tenant. That's why the phone call's grayed out. And in your paid license tenants, that will be available. That doesn't matter. That's just why that's grayed out. For mobile app option, I've got to have the mobile app option turned on to do passwordless with the Authenticator app on a phone. Okay? And I've got to have the bottom option turned on to do passwordless with a FIDO device like this YubiKey that I'm holding up. Okay? So you've got to make sure that those are ticked based on whichever option that you're choosing to do. Okay. Just close that tab. Okay. Let's go back to the Azure AD security section and click Authentication Methods to set this up. Okay. So first one, at the top, the Authentication Methods preview. The Authentication Method Policy preview. And we can see that we can do a passwordless with FIDO2 or Microsoft Authenticator. And it says at the top, click here to enable users for enhanced registration. Your users must be covered by the enhanced registration program. Okay, so I've got that turned on. That's the lower of the two options here. Okay? The upper option about my apps, that's new. That turned up about a week or two ago. The advanced preview's been around since about January, or maybe just before. Okay? So I've got that set up for all my users. They need to use the enhanced preview for MFA and SSPR, self-service password reset registration. Okay. Right, so how do we set it up? I'm going to start with FIDO2 devices, like this YubiKey, okay? And I can click on, there we go, and I can enable yes. There we go, done, demo finished. No, it's not, okay. So yes, I'm not going to do it for all users. I'm going to do a pilot. So I can go select users, and I can pick my group. In this case, I've already made my group, as we showed you earlier. So this will be my FIDO2 pilot group, which contains my user Alex. Okay, and over on the right, and just see if I can scroll down to make that a little bit easier. Okay, I've got a couple of options. Okay, so self-service password setup. Sorry, self-service setup. I have to do self-service at the moment. I'm imagining at some point in this process, self-service will go away, and you can roll them out for your users. But at the moment, you give the device to the user, and they have to register it. Now, you can help them, obviously, but it's while they are logged in that they register it. There's an option called in-force attestation. Let's make that a little bit bigger. There we go. And in-force attestation is all of these devices come with a certificate on them. Right? Now, it's not a unique certificate per device. This is a certificate that says this is a YubiKey and the model. Okay. For example, HID gave me their. Let's bring the camera up so people online can see what I'm talking about. Okay. And there's the back. So that's the HID one. It's a card, you can do door entry systems and stuff like that. That's a smart card. We're going to a smart card reader. Okay? That's a preview model from them. Okay? And so you'd have to turn attestation off to make this work at the moment. Okay? But for the rest of them, attestation does work. Okay? So that was something the HID guys told me that to make that work. But what attestation does is basically say, this is an approved device from FIDO. Okay, so Microsoft download from FIDO the list of approved devices, and the HID device is approved through a certificate chain, and that's not supported yet in Azure AD, so that's why you have to turn attestation off for that. But I'm going to do this with my YubiKey, so we'll leave attestation on. I can implement key restrictions. Now, the documentation says this is not supported. I have got it working, but the error messages are rather obscure, which is probably why it's not supported. Okay. But if I say yes to key restrictions, I can allow or block keys by their GUID. Okay. So I could say a user lose their key, I could block it, for example. Or I could only allow you to use the keys I've issued. Okay. So that's enabled. And I'm going to save that change. And before we come and demo it, Microsoft Authenticator-based passwordless, so on the phone, is exactly the same process, just less options. So I'm going to say yes to the phone authenticator, and I'm going to pick my group. And I've made a second group for that, and I've got a user called Lynn, who's a part of that group, and we'll do Lynn for that. Okay, there really isn't a lot to setting that up. Okay, we're done. Okay, that's it enabled. So let's try doing it. Okay, so first one up, I've got my YubiKey. Okay, I'm logged in Firefox. So Firefox and Edge is supported. Documentation says Chrome isn't, but it works on Chrome as well, and it works on the new Chromium browser. So there must be some scenarios where it doesn't work, otherwise it would be supported, but I've yet to find them. Okay, so generally speaking, it works on your modern browser. So I'm signed in already as Alex, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to AKA MS, MFA setup, /MFA setup. That's the combined registration portal page. Okay? Now, to go to the MFA setup page, if you've already registered for MFA, you have to do an approval. Okay? So that turns up on my device here. And I'm just going to approve the login to that. Okay. You always have to approve your login to this so that someone who's not you can't change it. Okay. But once it's signed in, and it always does that on my machine, I've seen. It takes a little while. We've got slightly slower internet than would be ideal. This is much quicker in my hotel room and in my office. The speed here, I'm putting down to the speed of the Wi-Fi here. Okay. Right. So what can we do? Okay. That one's left over from the last time I ran this, so let's just delete that one and forget you saw it, because I didn't tidy up. Okay. Right, so what do I do? Okay, so I'm going to add a method, and I'm going to pick from the add method security key. Because Alex is in the group, Alex has the right to add a security key. Okay, and so I'm going to take the YubiKey device and put it into my USB port. I'm just going to click add. It's a USB device in this case. I don't have an NFC reader. And it says, please insert the USB key into the computer. Click next, and you'll get a pop-up. Okay? So we get redirected to new window to finish setup. Now this is a brand new YubiKey. It's not been used before. So I'll just click continue on that. Okay? And it says, this is for Alex, and it comes from Edge. And because I've never used this YubiKey before, it's going to ask me for a PIN number. Remember, this YubiKey device, let me make sure I did that right. Okay. This YubiKey device does not have biometrics. If I was to use a biometric-based fingerprint one, I would not need a PIN. Okay. Touch the key, just so it knows which one I'm using. There we go. And I'd like to allow that to happen. Okay. And we're done. We've registered that key with Alex. Okay, that's Alex's key now. Okay, and we wait for the page to reload. It wants a name, so I'm going to say YubiKey Red. The YubiKey Red sticker. YubiKey are giving away stickers. So if you've got a YubiKey, head to their stand and they'll give you covers as well, unless they've already run out of them. Okay, but it's a way of identifying them. Okay. So I give it a label. You're all set. You're done, it says. So let's close this window. So I'm logged out as Alex. It's an in-private browser, so I'm logged out there. Okay? And I'm going to do in-private sessions just because otherwise it'll try and log in as my user account on the computer. Okay. So just grab Alex's username to make that a little bit easier. So I'm going to go to office.com in the browser. Okay. Actually, I don't need Alex's username. I'm going to click Sign In. And in the Sign In dialog box, I've got a Sign In Options button. I'm going to click the Sign In Options button, and it says Sign In with a security key. Okay. So I sign in with the security key. Up pops the same dialog box that I saw before when I was registering it. Okay. I need my PIN number. I need to touch the key, just in case there's multiple keys. And I'm signed in. Okay? So I didn't enter a username or password. Okay? The username and password is on the device. For example, I've got another YubiKey here. Let's just pop back to that camera. Okay? I've got a blue one. Okay, this is not an NFC one, but otherwise it's a YubiKey. Let's pop that in. Let me close that window, and again, open up a in private Edge Chromium browser window. Okay, and I'll do the same thing. This is just a different YubiKey. This YubiKey was set up on this PC, but it doesn't have to have been. It could be set up on another PC completely. Okay? These devices, because they store all your credentials on them, are roaming by default. So I can walk up to any Windows device, plug that in, and log in. So sign in, and obviously I need the PIN number. So if I lose it, it's not that anybody could walk up and sign in. So sign in with a security key. And this one, the blue one, okay, when it pops up, here we go, enter PIN. And then it says, touch your key. So I touch my key, and it says, which user? This key has many users registered on it. Okay? One of these is my personal account, but others are just a demo tenant that I've got. Okay? So I could click this and go, this could all be me as a consultant. It could be me in one of my companies, and me in another company I work for, and me in another company I work for. Or it could be me, the user, or me, the global admin. So I can have multiple things on the key. Let's just log in as Megan, for example. Choose Megan, click OK, and now I'm logged in as Megan. Okay? I didn't enter a username, and I did not enter a password. Okay. So that's FIDO-based keys, okay, and passwordless on FIDO. For example, let's bring that camera back up. Here's the keys I use to get into my house. That's a very old FIDO device. Sorry, not FIDO, but actually it might be FIDO1. I've got Google account on that for logging into my personal Google account, and there's my actual YubiKey that I use for real stuff rather than demo, okay? And they're on my house keys, so I'm not really going to forget them, okay? Right, let's pop back and have a look at authenticator-based sign-in, okay? So I'm going to go and sign in, again, a new in-private window, just so I don't sign in as the actual user on the PC, okay? And I'm going to sign in as Lynn. So for phone-based sign-in, okay, I need to do the username. So we'll log in, and we'll set up phone-based auth. So the first time round, I'm going to sign in normally, because I haven't got Lynn set up anywhere. So I'm going to sign in, enter the username, enter the password. Classic way of signing in. That's all done. I'm going to go to the MFA registration page. And because I've got this set up for the user, okay, I get an authentication. And where'd that go? There you go, approve. So you've seen that before, so I don't need to show you what's on my screen. That's just the approve option. Okay. But what I can do now is I'm going to pop over to my iPhone and show you the phone. Okay, so this is Lynn, so the entry at the top. Okay? And for Lynn, to set up passwordless for a user, okay, using the Authenticator app, I have to take the MFA registration that I've done in the Authenticator app, drop down the arrow at the top right of the user, and choose Enable Phone Sign-In. Okay, so it's a user-driven process, so as long as the user's been added to the Authenticator option in the portal. So I'll enable phone sign-in, and it tells me I need to register the device, and it's not registered, and I need a passcode. In this case, it's an iPhone, so Face ID will work. Okay? If it's Android, fingerprint reader would work. Okay? So I need biometrics off the back of it. Okay? I'm going to continue, okay? And it's going to ask me to log into my tenant. Now, unlike the FIDO devices, where I can have many users on one key, I can only register the app against one tenant. So it's a single registration. Okay? Now, I'm not going to type my password while you're all looking, so I'll just take that away. And type a few characters there. Pop back. Back to the phone. Yeah, we've done that. Sign in. Okay. And approve. There we go, the normal approval process. But at the end of all this, it gives me the option to register the device, so I say register. Now, this is not MDM registration. Okay? This is Authenticator app registration. Okay? So I get the two green ticky, as we could say, and if I scroll to the top, phone in sign-in was enabled, it said at the top, and I've now got a key icon next to Lynn's company name. Okay? The phone is registered. Now, down the bottom, I've got Microsoft and a key icon. Okay? That's my personal Microsoft Live account. Okay? So I can register my passwordless to my Microsoft account, but I can only register one Azure AD account on the phone. Okay, so briefly back to the computer. Close the window that Lynn was logged in with. Open up a new in private window. And let's see passwordless with phone auth in process. So we'll go to the Office portal. We'll sign in. Now, none of this is MFA. Okay? This is sign in with devices. This is not username, password, and MFA. This is a device to do sign in. But because it's something I have as well as something I know, it covers MFA as well. Okay. So let's paste in her username. I have to do a username when I use the phone auth. And it comes up to me and says 68. Let's pop back to the phone. And on the phone, I should get a notification. Hello, phone. There we go. Right. OK. And it gives me 3 numbers. 68 happens to be the bottom. I have to see the screen with the number, and I have to see the phone. So I'll choose 68. And it says, please do your biometrics. Now, those who are close enough can see that I'm doing this sideways. So I'll try Face ID again. I look like Lynn, clearly. There we go. And so I'm in. OK? And that's passwordless with the Authenticator app. Okay? Show a number. Show 3 numbers on the device. The position of the correct number will move. It's not always at the bottom. So I've got to see the screen I'm logging into, and I've got to see the phone at the same time. So that avoids some types of phishing type attack. I don't just click approve and I'm done. And because I had to register the phone, the connection channel for setup means that it's unphishable. Okay? Because I've got the hardware token, it means it's unphishable. MFA and definitely password, many of those options can be phished. You could have a proxy like Evil Jinx in the way, and you can have a redirected Azure AD login. The URL is wrong, but you can have a redirected Azure AD login, and you can be asked username and password and approve your MFA token, and you can be man-in-the-middled. But with these, you cannot. It is a completely unphishable solution. We want to be on the PC. Okay, so that's the setup of all this. Last couple of things to finish off with. Okay, I'm going to pop over to Intune. And on Intune, how did I get my PC to give me the option to do biometric login or key login to the PC? Now, I can't do phone auth login to the PC. I can only do FIDO2 device login to the PC. But I can do that in 2 ways. One way is via Intune. So in the Intune portal, the machine is registered with Intune. Okay? And I can go to the device enrollment, Windows enrollment section. And under here, I can choose Windows Hello for Business. Now, it's not Windows Hello for Business. The option is just under Windows Hello for Business. This is not Windows Hello for Business. And you can see down the bottom, use security keys for sign-in. Let's just zoom in on that. Okay? And so by default, that's not configured. I do not need to configure Windows Hello for Business to make this work. So just say enabled, okay? And I can save that. Now, that's assigned to all users. So that would make this setting, which, just for reference, is a computer-based setting, but you assign it to the user. Okay? It's not set to the device. Okay? So I would say enabled and save. Because that's under Windows enrollment, that applies to all users. Okay? So I'll just discard that. I can go back to Intune, device configuration, and I can create a device configuration profile that applies to a subset of users if I wanted to pilot that. And for example, I've got one here. There's 2 ways of doing it. One is to roll out the configuration via an OMA URL, and that's the one I've got here. Okay, so let's have a look at that setting, and I'll zoom in on it for you. Okay. And it's the use security key for sign-in, and it's slightly longer than what's on the screen there. So if you Bing, if you Bing that entry, you'll find the right key to type in. Okay, so I don't need to tell you exactly. You'll forget if I tell you what it is anyway. And it's integer 1. Okay, there'll be questions tonight at the theme park. If you see me, I'll ask you what that string is, and I'll give you a round of applause. There we go. All right. So I can take that and I can apply that configuration to. It's not assigned at the moment, but I could assign it to a bunch of users, and then they would have passwordless. Okay? And if you're not using Intune, then there is the Windows Configuration Manager. Oops, let's open that again. There we go. The Windows Configuration Designer. And in the Windows Configuration Designer, I can roll out the same setting, use security key for sign-in, load that onto a USB key, and plug that into all my devices while doing deployment, and set that setting up on them. It's a little bit more fiddly than doing it with Intune. But it is possible, if you haven't got Intune, to add that into your login, your deployment process. Okay. So there we have. Just lock that screen, cover up my Face ID so it doesn't. Oh yeah, it's not going to work. And just show you sign-in options, and there's the key. And so I can use any of the devices. I can't log in here to finish with Alex, who's on this, because this particular PC is registered with my company tenant. So I can use any of my company usernames to log in, but I can't use any username to log in. So Alex could only log in with his key on a AD-joined machine that belonged to Alex's company. Okay? So I can't use that to log in, but this Fetian device, that's registered to to this account, okay? And that's registered in my tenant, and so I could do the machine login that way. Okay, so thank you very much for attending. I hope you enjoy tonight at Universal and the rest of the show. Thank you very much. If you've got any questions, I'm welcome to take them over on the side here.